Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Welcome to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. I'm Liam Dale, seminarian with the Diocese of Des Moines, and on today's show we're visiting with Deacon Ron Myers of Sacred Heart Parish in West Des Moines. Deacon Myers and his wife Tammy are co-directors of the Diaconate Formation program. Today we'll be talking to Deacon Ron about tomorrow's ordination of 6 new deacons for the Diocese of Des Moines. But before we get into today's interview, let's find out what's on the bishop's mind.
You know, July 15th, do they call it the Ides of July like they call it the Ides of March? I don't know. And we don't have to be aware than that because we're enjoying these golden days of summer as well. Just as I enjoyed being out with the good people of St. Patrick's Imogene last weekend, 2 years delayed because of the pandemic, kind of celebration of the 150th plus, but the dedication of the Heritage Garden. So it was a grand occasion. A lot of alums came back, and Father Leahy, the Jesuit president of Boston College, was there. He's a native son of the parish, so it was really a grand time. And maybe there was a barley soda or two consumed. I'm just saying, that might have been part of it as well. But and then kind of looking forward to many good things. Obviously, the All-Star game is passed, and we move forward. Liam, I don't know. Do you ever, your summer activities? I know you're a camper. You like to go camping. You ever head out on that Great Western trailhead and head out on the bike path down to Cumming or not? Stop at your old, sweatshop, the Arilla Chicken Palace.
Yeah, no, I'm not a biker in the slightest. I know you you kill it on the trails, and I don't know how you biked around Dubuque for so long, but living up there is maybe admire your biking skills.
Well, you get an electric bike. That's how you handle the bluffs. That helps you.
I'm
way.
sure
so,
it will.
Yeah. Well, come on now. You're the youngest seminarian. You just turned 20, 2 decades. Until we have our new seminarians enter in the fall, and then you'll be one of the grizzled old veterans and seniors in that regard. So we can do that. But do you have any recommendations if I finally get to stop at Orilla and get some chicken? Are there options there, or is it the same recipe for all dishes?
Surprisingly, their pizza was really good. That was the biggest thing. I really liked their pizza when I worked there.
Oh, so you're kind of a craftsman of pizzas? Do you have this?
You see,
in case this priesthood thing doesn't work out for you?
I think that was the worst thing I was at making. I could make a mean burger for you there, but...
Okay, well...
Can never roll the dough quite right.
I look forward to that. So, we know this month it's kind of a landmark for Iowans. One of our native sons, very proud of, Simon Estes, is having his last major run with the Des Moines Opera, Porgy and Bess. A chance to take that in, maybe broaden your cultural horizons a little bit too, Liam. Get a little opera, a little classical music. But that's very much an American piece that very brilliant and beautiful to bring us forward in that story. We are concluding the period where we're grateful to Father Ralph O'Donnell of the Omaha Archdiocese. He was part of the team that came to visit us and kind of look at our permanent diaconate program and give us some recommendations. I think Des Moines Diocese has one of the longer-standing diaconate programs, and Deacon Ron will tell us about that. Now, that he's, maybe he knows that history because he's lived it in a very beautiful way. But I think as we're going forward, looking for a new director of the diaconate and someone, if anyone can even aspire to succeed Deacon Ron and Tammy in their role that's been so long, but continue to hopefully have the word out, looking for men from diverse backgrounds, hopefully those who can maybe even bring bilingual skills and help us in that regard, to do that, and maybe even the leadership. So that's kind of a thinly veiled attempt to maybe bring people's attention to, is the God calling them to come to the Des Moines Diocese? We may have candidates within, but we would welcome people from the region who might consider serving the Church of Des Moines. So we'd be very blessed if they would go forward with that. So looking forward next week to the Divine Renovation Conference in Dallas, Father James Mallon and his team, and we'll have a group of Des Moines pastors and others taking part in that. So lots going on, and we don't just kind of kick back during the summer months.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we'll welcome Deacon Ron Myers to talk about tomorrow's ordination. You're listening to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
Iowa Catholic Radio welcomes Scotty McCreery with special guest Ali Colleen.
Give myself 5 more
Sunday, July 24th at the Iowa Event Center Ballroom.
I'm in between Friday night wild and quiet Sunday morning.
Tickets and information available at celebratecountry.org. Sponsored by Ball Team.
St. Vincent de Paul helps so many people.
You're right, Zoe. St. Vincent de Paul Executive Director Steve Havman here. We are serving over 32,000 local residents with food, clothing, furniture, and financial assistance annually. We invite you to learn more about all of our life-changing programs that positively impact so many Iowans by simply Googling St. Vincent de Paul of Des Moines. Our mission is to help those in need become self-sufficient through education, community connectedness, and unconditional support. Help us, help others.
Even kids!
Welcome back to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. On today's show, we're visiting with Deacon Myers of Sacred Heart Parish in West Des Moines. Deacon Myers and his wife, Tammy, are co-directors of the Diaconate Formation program. We're talking to Deacon Ron about tomorrow's ordination of 6 new deacons to the Diocese of Des Moines and reflecting on his and Tammy's many years of serving as co-directors.
And it has been a grand thing, and this is kind of the culmination in many ways, and kind of a grand celebration, not only for those deacon candidates to be ordained, but for you and Tammy as well. And by the way, the Sacred Heart connection here between Liam and Deacon Ron as they do. Deacon Ron, I'm not the first Joensen you really knew, right? You had better connections with my brother David along the way.
That's true. Our youngest daughter, he was our youngest daughter's swim coach for quite a while.
You know, and
successfully, actually.
She knew how to suffer that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but very fun in that way. So, you know, you're kind of, to me, a kind of St. Joseph figure in many ways. Obviously, lots of construction projects. You're kind of self-employed in that regard. But you bring with us this charism of the deacons, those first 7 men who are set aside for service and ministering to those who are weak and vulnerable in the community. How did this whole thing get started? How, you know, as you look at your long tenure of service, what opened your heart and mind to consider this calling?
Actually, I would have to give Tammy credit because and
we so wanted her to be present. It just didn't work out today.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because she is an early childhood educator and has responsibilities there. She could not just turn off. Mm-hmm. So she apologizes, but she prefers probably for me to be here than herself. But she sends her best. Actually, like I get back to that, it was her. I had probably been searching. I had been in, I say it's about every Protestant faith searching for where I belonged. And we were co-workers, and at a buffet thing at work, she heard me say I was missing going to church, and she says, well, you can come with me. And I don't know whether she thought I heard her or not, but I did. And so I went later and asked her if I could just, could I go with her? And I says, where did you go? And she says, Sacred Heart. I says, that sounds like a Catholic church to me. And she says, yes. And I says, well, will they let me in? And I mean, I had totally the wrong concept about Catholicism and the church and everything. And she took me. So
you were baptized already or not?
Yes, I was baptized in a Protestant church.
Okay.
And she took me, and we were sitting in the second pew, right up close to the ambo, right beside the tabernacle area. And there's a lot of funny stories there, but basically I felt so at home. I didn't know why. It's not like I heard a voice, but something inside of me was clicking and saying, this is where you belong. And so then I was set on a road to figure out what that was. And that Tammy ended up being my sponsor for RCIA. And Sister Maggie drugged me through. I'm kicking and screaming probably some parts of it, because I know one of the hardest things for me was not being able to take communion at first and understanding that. Mm-hmm. But I got through that. So
you felt welcome, but there was still a sense of being on the outs because you weren't receiving the Eucharist yet.
Until I understood it better. Mm-hmm. And yes. So to answer that question short, Tammy is the one who was the catalyst to bring me to the right place.
Wow.
And then I heard a deacon speak one day. And I was involved in church and about everything you could be in, all the boards and everything for the longest time, for quite a few years. And then I heard a deacon speak, and I went home and I said, I think I'm interested in that. And Tammy said, well, if you're really interested and you feel called, then you need to pursue that, and I'll support you. And next thing I knew, we were in formation.
Just not by happenstance, but she really was the evangelist for you in a way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and yet kids were still at home and things. And this is like in the 1980s, or when was this?
It was, no, it was in the early 90s.
Early 90s.
And
okay.
yes, we had 2 kids at home when we entered formation, but we had unbelievable support from Sacred Heart parishioners, especially ones who had kids about the same age as ours. For the longest time, for the first 3 years or almost 4 years of formation, they thought it was a vacation every weekend when we were gone, because they'd go to somebody's house and play. The last year, it started to wear a little thinner, and so, it was a little harder for them then. But they were getting older then also.
Mm-hmm. So, you saw this. What in particular attracted you, the diaconal ministry? I mean, being on the altar, we know sometimes Pope Francis in recent years has been a little critical or cautioning this danger of kind of being a mini cleric, if that will, and kind of seeing the altar as the be-all, end-all of what one is about and doing that, and, being... instead of being a custodian of service. But you have a servant's heart all along. You've always been about that.
I think probably initially it would have, honestly, it was probably the idea of being able to share a newfound faith with everybody. And so admittedly, I'm sure I thought of it in terms of at the altar. Mm-hmm. But as I went through formation, it turned into, yes, that's a part of it, but the bigger part is being able to carry that feeling, that newfound purpose for life and everything out to other people in terms of some kind of service. And sometimes it's no more than just a smile, and other times it's hours or even weeks you might spend with somebody to minister to them, depending on what their needs are. But it ended up just being, in general, a very high drive and capacity to just be for other people and to meet their needs as best I could. Mm-hmm. Knowing that it wasn't me, that I was driven by the God that I was believing in, the Holy Spirit.
Mm-hmm. And, whether you were part of the charismatic movement or not, but, you say this feeling, but this purpose. But the purpose has a name, right? And it's the person of Jesus Christ that is ultimately, who you wanted to bring. And by then, your Eucharistic faith, you were obviously in communion with him. Was ministry of the sick, bringing the Eucharist, part of the earlier phases of ministry?
Yes, I did that, but not very much. It became, earlier on, it was more into a lot of marriage preparation. And these are kind of really opposite of things. Hospice. I was in hospice for quite a while there, and learned a lot about life that I didn't understand. Family members, and friends from childhood that I actually got to be with through the hospice thing. But I think that was really well, the other thing is that, which I didn't really tell, is that I went through formation, but as soon as I was ordained,
which took place in what year? What year was that?
2001.
Okay.
Bishop Sharon there were new norms out, and Bishop Sharon put a committee together, and he asked me as one of the newly ordained deacons to serve on it. And the committee wrote up the guidelines and what the requirements would be for the formation director. And I took it home and showed it to my wife, Tammy, and she says, well, this is you. And I said, I know, I'm kind of interested in this. And so I went back to Bishop Sharon. I says, okay, I got a problem. I'm on this committee. I'm also interested in the position. He says, well, dismiss yourself from the committee and put it in an application. And I don't know what the period of time was, but he asked if we would then direct the formation. So I really went from ordination to formation and didn't really have much of a period of time where I was just a deacon at Sacred Heart. I was, from the get-go, a deacon at Sacred Heart and co-director with Tammy of the formation
Serving
process.
the diocesan church and not just the
Yes.
parish, yeah.
Yep.
Which may not be the way we would ordinarily script these things, that someone would have that opportunity for experience. But hey, when the Lord calls, and both Bishop Sharon and Tammy's discernment for you
Right.
and with you in this way. And, as you went through formation, were there things that surprised you? And talk about the bond with your brother deacons in the process and the role of the wives in that, because I think this is a key piece of this, right? That this can't be a solitary thing. It has, even if it's not a joint vocation to diaconate per se, the vocation is of marriage for men who are married. One can be a single man and become a deacon, but how does that play into the dynamic?
It is difficult at the beginning to actually explain to someone, a couple, we'll say, because that way we can talk about wives' support, to explain how they're going to change through formation. We can use the words and we can give examples, but I don't think anybody really grasps what's going to happen to them through that formation process. It's like 4.5 years, depending on where you want to start measuring the application process. Mm-hmm. But we do try to emphasize the fact that no matter how faithful they are and faith-filled they are at the beginning, if their call and their discernment is genuine, they will change. That's all there is to it. They will change, and in a positive way. Mm-hmm. And
it's really kind of putting out into the deep, isn't it?
Right.
I mean, whatever one's level of spirituality and faith commitment.
Yes, and for the wives portion of that, through experience, just knowing what happens and experiencing it ourselves, it's very, if the formation process is working, it's very difficult. We feel it's very difficult for the man to be able to, he's with his brothers through formation and he's having all these experiences. It's not the physical ones, it's the emotional ones and the faith-filled ones. Those are very personal things, and that's very difficult to impart to another person who wasn't there and didn't hear them and is not part of that group, that group sensation that you also get. So we've always been, and the bishops, Bishop Sharon, Bishop Pates, and yourself have always been supportive of wives going through formation. Thank goodness, and we believe that they should, because we want them to. Marriage is one of our sacraments, and it's one of the most sacred of those. And we don't want anything in formation to hinder that or diminish it in any way. So we want them to move as much as possible along in formation. It doesn't mean they're going to form in the same way. Mm-hmm. It just means that they're going to move along the same growth in faith path or journey at the same, and understand that, well, why they have a better understanding of why each one of them individually are changing, but also why they're changing as a couple too.
Mm-hmm.
We find that couples feel like they grow stronger. Their bond is different and stronger because they're spending a lot of time together, a lot of couple time together, even though they're in a classroom, whatever. There's the travel to conception. There's studying things at night, liturgies of the hours together, praying together, and that kind of thing. So it's a major joint effort if they are a couple when they enter into formation.
And it's the same spirit, but it has different effects in how it's realized through both of you. And you think about going off as a spouse to a Christian experience weekend or a profound retreat. There's no way you can capture that coming back and express that, but the lived accompaniment. I do think that for those who might be listening and might be entertaining this, we're going to continue to strongly encourage, and certainly in the first couple of years of formation. By that point, we hope it catches fire. That whether the academic piece figures as prominently, but that they'll continue to walk together on that path, even though recognizing there might be circumstances where it's just either not possible or preferable for the wife to do so. But you've accompanied these men, and we're quickly coming up on a break here. Tomorrow, you'll be beaming, I'm sure, as these 6 men present themselves before the altar at St. Ambrose Cathedral at 11 a.m. It is open to the public for those who would like to join us, although I can imagine with families and the deacon community being present there, the seats might be at a premium at a certain point. But we're going to look forward to hearing a little bit about that and just other further reflections that you have as you now are willing to kind of step away.
We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio is provided by the Sarah Vocations Ministry, including the St. Sarah Club of Des Moines and the Sarah Club of Council Bluffs. Sarah is an apostolate of the Worldwide Catholic Church dedicated to fostering and supporting priesthood and religious vocations. Sarahans strive to accomplish their mission through prayer, fellowship, and service to the bishop, priests, sisters, and all in religious formation, and in doing so to increase their own holiness. Learn more at joinsarah.org, joinserra.org. Thank you, Sarahans, for your support of Iowa Catholic Radio.
Iowa Catholic Radio welcomes Scotty McCreery with special guest Allie Colleen.
Give myself 5 more minutes.
Sunday, July 24th at the Iowa Event Center Ballroom.
I'm in between Friday night wild and quiet Sunday morning.
Tickets and information available at celebratecountry.org. Sponsored by Ball Team.
Welcome back to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. We're back with Deacon Ron Myers to talk about tomorrow's diaconate ordination.
So it's going to be, as I said before, a grand day, Cathedral, 11 a.m. The 6 men who've been in preparation, Dan Dombrowski from St. Francis in West Des Moines and his wife Yvette will be there. We'll mention the spouses' names: Dan Maxey from St. Mary of Nazareth, his wife Kelly; Steve McGee of St. Joseph Des Moines, his wife Vivian; Eric Pugh of St. Joseph Winterset, his spouse Monica; and Oren Strucker, also of St. Francis, and his wife Marilyn; and Steve Tatz of the Basilica of St. John and his wife Lisa. So these men who have been, like you say, for over 4.5 years, discerning, preparing, academic formation, thanks to the monks and their faculty at Conception Abbey, but also a lot of pastoral and spiritual formation. There's these icons which kind of cultivating their ministerial gifts and their ability to reflect on what they're about. And then you have a role tomorrow, Deacon Ron. I mean, you're the one who's going to vouch for them tomorrow, to yours truly.
That's correct.
Yeah, so, when I asked, do you judge them to be worthy? What is it about these men that you've seen? And you've walked with several cohorts in your 21 years as co-director with Tammy. And just maybe any thoughts or feelings that you have as you kind of see this as your final group that you've helped to give birth to.
Yeah, this is an interesting group. For one, is they have bonded as a group just unbelievably, almost from the beginning, and they keep track of each other and support each other. And I guess one thing is, this sounds funny, but they're just normal people. I mean, they're married, they're retired, they're actively working, some own their own businesses, but they're just some guy like you would meet in the grocery store or on the street. They're not senators, they're not high profile people. They're just people that really want to
As Cardinal Timothy Dolan says, talking about the seminarians for priesthood, normal. We're just looking for normal. Normal is good.
Exactly.
Who would you want them to be in your family's parish?
Right. And these guys, actually, these couples are so faith-filled and ready to serve. The things that they've been doing. You mentioned icon. They have an icon of Christ requirement from the time they start their last 3 years. They've been in the prison ministry.
And that's not painting an icon or writing an icon, right?
No. That's just our name for this ministry. They have to come up with a ministry. And they've been in the prisons. They've been feeding the homeless. They have pro-life ministry, hospice, spiritual wellness, hospital ministry until it kind of got shut down when COVID came. It's now starting to open up a little bit, but they have been involved in a myriad of things. Some are new and some are rejuvenated ministries, and then some are ones that are just ongoing that needed more support, and they just dove in there, and they are serving now. One of the things that you do look for is, and we've said this before during the application process, we're looking for somebody who already is doing diaconia. We're just going to ordain them. But they still need to move through the formation process in order to understand their gifts.
That's the discernment, the affirmation by the church of one who already has this disposition, has a deacon's heart, if you will. And, as I think about going around to different parishes, I certainly see men who are Hispanic, who are ready and prime. We need, to serve our communities, and men who I think we can call forth, whether they've done the Hispanic Leadership Institute or not. So that's going to be a prime focus going forward, because I think that's going to be a very natural charism that can build up our diocese, in that way.
Right. I agree.
Now, as we have a few seconds left, any thoughts as you kind of have to, hand over the reins in this? And obviously, your family's going to be appreciative to have you more present, but is it a little bittersweet for you?
It is, and people have been asking me if I'm counting the days, and I'm not really counting the days. It's more like I'm counting, okay, I don't have to do that again. That's my last time to do that function. But I don't think actually retiring is going to hit me until it happens. And then I'll have to decide how I'm going to continue to live my faith. Well, in a different way.
I'm sure the Holy Spirit will counsel you well in that regard. Deacon Ron Myers and Tammy, give our love to her, and look forward to being with you and continue this way in a different path as you continue to offer your wisdom to the diocese.
This has been another edition of Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. Thank you to our guests and all of our listeners in Iowa, Nebraska, and Wisconsin, or wherever you may be listening, to Iowa Catholic Radio and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
You can hear Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen every week on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Making It Personal is provided by Sarah Vocations Ministry. Learn more at joinserra.org.